Oh, hello, Scarloy. Hi, Peter Sam. Hello, Thomas. Oh, hello, Peter Sam. Thomas, where do you want the sleigh? Oh, just leave it here. Thank you. And now to Brandon Docks. Soon Thomas arrived at Brandon Docks. He was very tired. His trucks were old and dirty. Soon James arrived. Hello, Thomas. I've got a brand new trucks. Your trucks are filthy and old. You'll never be as clean as me. Then Edward arrived. Cheer up, Thomas. James is just teasing you. Thanks, Edward. I'm exhausted and tired. I'm pretty sure the Fat Controller would give you new trucks, said Edward. The next morning the Fat Controller arrived at Tidmouth Shed. Thomas, Edward told me that your trucks are old and you are in need of new ones. So you will get them. They are waiting for you at Knapford Station Yard, said the Fat Controller. Thomas was very grateful. Oh, thank you, sir. By the way, what do they look like, sir? They are dark green, and while you will be working with them, Percy will look after your branch line. So Percy took Annie and Clarabelle, and Thomas collected his new truck. He was very eager to work with them, and so were the trucks. But James thought Thomas's trucks will never be as beautiful as his. And even Thomas thought his trucks are more beautiful than James's. He was looking forward to show them to him. James was at Brandon Docks with Bill and Ben when Thomas arrived. Wow, said Bill, look at this, Ben. Thomas got new trucks too. And they are even nicer than James's. Sure thing. This made James very cross. Your trucks may be nicer than mine, he said, but you will never stay as clean as me. Your trucks will be dirtier than you think. Ha ha ha, said Thomas. Soon James and Thomas arrived at Farquhar Quarry to pick up stone. Thomas was trying very hard to keep his new trucks clean. But it wasn't as easy as you think. Next, Thomas was to go to the coaling plant to pick up some coal. James's trucks were laughing at Thomas's truck. On their way to the coaling plant, the trucks were thinking of mischiefs. Soon Thomas arrived at the coaling plant, where James was filling his trucks with coal. He was looking forward to take it all to Brandon Docks. Thomas's trucks were holding him back. Hold back, hold back, hold back, they yelled. This made Thomas very cross. He was soon dirty with coal. The trucks were laughing at him. Look, Thomas is dirty as a pig, they said. You silly engine, said the worker. You scared me. Now look what you've done, said the angry worker. I'm sorry, sir, said Thomas. It took a very long time before Thomas was cleaned, and when he left the coaling plant. At the washdown, Thomas met James. Look at me, Thomas, said James. They are cleaning me. It will take hours before they get you cleaned too, teased James. Thomas was very cross. Meanwhile, Mr. Percival, the new controller of the narrow gauge railway, was talking to his engines. Listen to me. The coaling plant machines have accidentally broken down, so I want you to take coal there, and your passenger duties will be handled by a new engine named Mighty Mac and by Bertie the Bat, he said. So from tomorrow you will be bringing coal to the transfer yard. This made Duncan very cross indeed. No passengers? Ha! How can you do that to us? I'm so pissed off, sir, he said. Duncan wasn't happy at all, you know. That night at Tidmouth Sheds, the engines were teasing Thomas about getting dirty. Hey Thomas, said James, you thought your trucks are nicer than mine, did you? Ha ha ha, said Thomas. But you got already dirty. We might call you a pig rather than engine. Ha ha ha, said Thomas. Very funny. It's a good thing you're not working with coaches, because the fat controller would see an accident you would have with them. Shut up, said Thomas. The next morning the fat controller arrived at Tidmouth Shed. Thomas, since you have accidentally broken the machine at the coaling plant, you will be taking coal from the transfer yard to all the stations on Soda. And another thing, Mr. Percival told me that a new engine has arrived on his railway, so you can go to the transfer yard to meet him. Thomas was very excited. He was thinking about what will the new engine look like. Then Thomas also had an idea. I'm going to take my old trucks to keep the new ones clean. They will be new forever, he thought. But the new trucks were very shocked. Why wasn't Thomas taking them this time? Thomas took his old trucks, but it was a big mistake. Meanwhile, the narrow gauge engines were looking forward to meet the new engine. Thomas was at transfer yard, waiting for the new engine to arrive when they did. Hello, said Thomas. I'm Thomas. I'm Mighty, said the engine. And I'm Mac, said the engine at the other end. And together we're Mighty Mac. Soon Mr. Percival, the fin controller, arrived. Mighty Mac, he said, I want you to go and pick up those passengers over there and take them to a campsite. Said, but you must be very careful with them. No problem, said Mighty. We're off, said Mac. But there were so many trucks between Mighty Mac and the passengers. How on earth are we ever supposed to get there? Asked Mighty. It's easy, said Thomas. Just follow the tracks that will lead you where you want to go and whatever. So Mighty set off. But Mac didn't want to go this way. This way, he said. No, said Mighty, this way. Mighty Mac each had a different opinion on where they are supposed to go. They couldn't agree at all on this thing. Mr. Percival was fed up with it. That's it, Mighty Mac, he said sternly. You will pick up the coach and take the passengers to the campsite. No fussing about, right, will you? Mighty Mac got coupled to the coach and Mr. Percival showed them how to get to the campsite. Soon Mighty Mac set off. But they were still a little bit mad at each other. I know how to get there quicker than you, Mac, said Mighty. With me we're going to be there on time, but with you it would take hours before we would be there, teased Mac. Ha ha ha. No indeed, said Mac. I'm faster than you. Soon they arrived at Crossney-Kern, where Duncan was. Hello, said Mighty. I'm Mighty, and the other engine is Mac. Ha, said Duncan. So you're the engine that we cannot take passengers because of? Mr. Percival told us to take silly little coal trucks instead of passengers. It's all your fault, you newy engine. Now thanks a lot. Mighty Mac didn't like being offended like that at all. Meanwhile, Rusty was at Scarloy coal yard picking up coal trucks to take to the transfer yards. And when he was coupled, he took off. At the crossing, Rusty met Mighty Mac. Oh, hello, he said. You must be in the new engine. I'm Rusty. Nice to meet you, said Mighty. I'm Mighty, and this is Mac. By the way, said Rusty, you guys haven't seen Duncan, have you? He's a yellow engine. "Oh," said Mighty, "we did meet a yellow engine at Crossnickern station. He was rude to us." "Was he?" said Rusty. "Well, I never." Rusty was very mad at Duncan. Duncan was very cross. He was not allowed to take any passengers, and he wanted to do it so much. Duncan had decided to go on an adventure. He was looking forward to visit Caldy Caves. Soon Duncan met Rusty. "Duncan, I have heard from the new engine that you were rude to them." "Ha, rude?" said Duncan. "They get to take the passengers, but I don't. I was going to Far West to go on an adventure." "There is no time for an adventure," said Rusty. "We have work to do." "Speak for yourself," said Duncan crossly. Soon Rusty arrived at the transfer yard. Mr. Percival was there. "Rusty, you haven't seen Duncan, have you?" "I have, sir. He met the new engine and was rude to them, and only because they got to take the passengers instead of him." "Oh dear," said Mr. Percival. Meanwhile, Mighty Mac arrived at the Dead Mountain end. "We're here," said Mighty. But he was wrong. This wasn't the place where the passengers were supposed to go. "This isn't our campsite," they yelled. Soon Mighty Mac caused a big disaster. Their coach was derailed, the passengers were crossed, and so were they. But soon the passengers started carrying rocks to and forth to make a place to put the coach back on the rails. It was hard work, but they managed it splendidly. Soon the passengers took all the stones, and it was possible to move the coach back on the rail. And soon Mighty Mac agreed on how to do it. The coach was back on the rails. "You know," said Mighty to Mac, "you shall lead, and at the next station we shall swap, and then we'll go to the campsite. Do you agree?" "Yes, I do," said Mac. Soon they arrived at the campsite. This time it was the place where they were supposed to go. "We're here," said Mac. "Hooray!" cheered the passengers. "You did it, guys!" Meanwhile, Thomas was taking his coal to the docks and the other stations on Sodor. But since he was pulling his old trucks, Thomas soon had an accident. The trucks broke free, and the consequences were about to start. "That silly engine," said the trucks. "He's going to have a crash with us." Soon Thomas noticed the uncoupled train, and he did have an accident. The coal split it all over the tracks. "Oh dear," said Thomas. Meanwhile, Mighty Mac were on their way back to Crovan's Gate with the empty coach. And Duncan, he was going to go on an adventure. Rusty saw him. "Where do you think you're going?" "On an adventure, of course," said Duncan. "I told you." "No," said Rusty. Duncan entered an old mine shaft. "This is great," he thought. "I'm going to enter in right now." But Duncan shouldn't have done it. Duncan's funnel was too tall, and the roof couldn't take it, and soon the rock started to fall down. Duncan was trapped in the old mine. "Oh dear, driver, do you think we'll ever get out of here alive?" "Don't ask me, Duncan. I didn't want to go on this adventure. You did. You caused us to get stuck in here, so you'll get us out somehow." Duncan started to panic. Meanwhile, Harvey brought the Fat Controller to Thomas. "Thomas," he said, "your trucks are old, and that's why I gave you the new ones. You will bring the new trucks here at once and take the coal in them. Do you understand?" "Yes, sir," said Thomas. He was very sad. Back on Scarloy Railway, the engines were delivering coal to the transfer yard. except for Rusty. He was looking for Duncan. Rusty could see that Duncan must have really gone into the mine. "Oh dear," he said. "Duncan must be trapped inside that mine. I can see the rocks falling in here. Oh dear, I must go and help him." Meanwhile, Duncan was trapped in the mine. "Oh dear, how am I going to get out of here?" he panicked. Then, in a distance, Duncan saw a light. "Hurry! We're free!" he said. Duncan blew his whistle long and loud, but there was no answer coming. Then Duncan bumped into something. Those were some buffers. "Oh dear, it's not the end of the line, is it?" Duncan pushed the buffers again, and he noticed these are trucks. "If there are trucks in front of me, perhaps it leads somewhere," he thought. Duncan bumped them again, and he was right. There was the other end of the mine, and Duncan was free. "Duncan," said Rusty, "what are you doing here? And what a... Look, Rusty, I was in a mine, and look what I found." "Yay, cool trucks," said Rusty. "Rusty, I'm sorry I was rude. I didn't mean to. Can you help me deliver these cool trucks to the transfer yard?" "Of course," said Rusty. "By the way, Duncan, you owe an apology to Mighty Mac." "Oh, I do? I didn't realize this. I'm going to apologize to them." "Yes, you will," said Rusty. Meanwhile, Thomas was picking up his new truck, and this time he didn't want to take his old ones at all. He had learned his lesson and didn't want to do the same mistake again. At the transfer yard, the crane was loading the coal from Duncan's trucks to Thomas's. And as soon as all the coal was loaded, Thomas took off with his full trucks. "Hi guys," said Thomas. "Hi," said Rusty. "Why do you have different trucks, by the way? Those trucks were my old, and I need to take the new ones because they are safer than the old trucks." "Well, goodbye guys. Bye." Thomas was looking forward to deliver his last load of coal to the docks. "Maybe, if my new trucks will be dirty, they will at least be useful." One day, Thomas arrived at the docks. When James arrived as well, Cranky was holding a big crate of melons, but he was distracted and dropped it. And the melons landed all over James. Now look who was dirty here. That evening, Duncan was going to apologize to Mighty Mac. "Mighty Mac," he said, "I'm sorry I was rude to you. I was just jealous that you get to take the passengers, but I do not. It wasn't very nice of me, now was it?" "No, it wasn't," said Duncan. "By the way, can we be friends?" "Of course," said Mighty Mac. "I promise I'll never be rude to you again," said Duncan. It wasn't really nice of me. I will be nice to you, I promise." At Tidmouth Sheds, the engines were now making fun of James rather than Thomas. "Hey James," said Thomas, "I thought you guys want to call me Pig rather than Engine, because I got covered with coal. But at least you can clean the coal easily, but not melons." "Ha ha ha ha!" laughed all the other engines. James was feeling very humiliated indeed. Firstly, he was teasing Thomas about his trucks and about him getting dirty, and now it was him who got dirty. "By the way, Percy, do you have any adventures on my branch line while you were helping me?" "Oh, that one," said Percy. "Nothing out of your ordinary, nothing exciting ever happens," said Percy. "Oh, right," said Thomas. "But," added Percy, "the passengers said that they have seen a new bird here on Soldar. It's called Olden Eager, or whatever is that." "You mean Golden Eagle," said Gordon. "Yes, that's it," said Percy.
but I don't know if we get to see it as well. The next morning, Mr. Percival came to Crovan's Gate sheds. Guys, he told his engines, today I would like you to deliver the last load of coal to the transfer yard. And I've got some big news. The experts have found a skeleton of dinosaur that will be delivered to a museum that is going to be opened here on Sodor. I'm going to need 2 very careful engines that would take it to the transfer yard. And then Thomas will bring a photographer that will make a photo of it. The engines were excited, especially Scarloy. He had never seen a dinosaur before, nor had the other engine. By the way, said Mr. Percival, now you guys will be delivering coal to the transfer yard, and then I will decide which one of you is going to take the dinosaur. But you must be very careful with it. We don't want to have it broken, now do we? Yes, sir, agreed the engines. Scarloy was very excited. What if he was going to be chosen to take the skeleton of the dinosaur to the transfer yard? He was thinking about what was it going to look like. Renes was also excited. He was delivering his last load of coal trucks to the transfer yard. Wow, he said, I hope Mr. Percival is going to choose me. And I wonder who will that other engine be? That would be Scarloy, of course, but you just wait and see. Scarloy was so excited that he didn't pay attention and bumped right into Renes's coal trucks. Sorry, Renes, he said. Scarloy was covered with coal dust, and he didn't look nice at all. Renes was cross with him. Look what you've done, you clumsy engine. You will not be taking the skeleton, he announced sternly. Later, the Fat Controller came to see Thomas. Thomas, he said, I would like you to go to Random Docks and pick up the photographer and take him to the transfer yard. Mr. Percival told me that an engine will be taking a skeleton of dinosaur there. Yes, sir, said Thomas. I am excited to see it. And he took off. Scarloy and Renes had had a fight. Renes had told Scarloy that he didn't want to risk the skeleton to get broken, so Mr. Percival chosen Renes on his own. There you are, Renes, said the shunter. You've come to take the skeleton on your own, I suppose? Yes, sir, said Renes. Soon he got coupled up and off he went. Renes was happily taking the skeleton of dinosaur without Scarloy. It was light until Renes came to the first hill. Renes found that he could go no further. Oh dear, this skeleton really is heavy, I tell you. Soon Scarloy arrived. Make way, an engine coming through, he said. Scarloy, thanks goodness you're here. Would you like to help me? Why, you said you didn't need any help from me, or risk the skeleton gets broken. I'm sorry, said Renes. I'm taking it all back. Even that risking of the skeleton to get broken because of me like the coal trucks? Yes, please, Scarloy, help me. I was wrong. I said I didn't need your help, but I do. That's now a different talk, my friend, said Scarloy. You said you needed my help, and you shall be helped by me. Wow, said Scarloy. You are letting me take the skeleton, after all, Renes. Yes, said Renes. By the way, Scarloy, I'm sorry I was rude to you. You most likely didn't mean to bump into those coal trucks back at the transfer yard now, did you? Well, I'm glad we're friends again. Renes was looking forward to arrive at the transfer yard with the skeleton of the dinosaur. Thomas was there, and so was the photographer. The photographer climbed out of Thomas's cap and took the photo of the dinosaur. By the way, said Thomas, what are you guys planning to do with it? You know, said Renes, Mr. Percival told us there was a new museum going to be opened here on Sodor. Wow, said Thomas.
I wonder where is it going to be located. I wonder if it will be on your little railway. Most likely not, said Renes. We guys don't know yet. Wow, said Thomas. Then I wonder where is it going to be opened. That night, Thomas was telling his friends about his adventures. By the way, Percy, said Thomas, do you think the so-called Golden Eagle has still been seen here on Sodor? Yes, Thomas, said Percy. The passengers are talking more and more about it. Maybe the Fat Controller will want to give us a task of taking some passengers to see the Golden Eagle. I wonder if it will be us, said Thomas. No, you won't, said Gordon. The Fat Controller doesn't want to risk with you another crash with some coaches or trucks. The next morning the Fat Controller arrived at Tidmouth Sheds. The new bird, called Golden Eagle, has been seen here on Sodor, he said. And who will take the passengers there, I wonder? Thought the Fat Controller. Well, Emily, you shall take them. Yes, sir, said Emily, and she puffed off. Thomas and Percy, I have another job for you. Thomas, you will take stone from the quarry and take it to Random Docks. And Percy, I want you to take the milk from Farmer McCall's to the dairy, said the Fat Controller. Thomas and Percy were sad. They wished they could take the Golden Eagle. While Emily was having the time of her life by taking the passengers, Thomas had to go to the quarry to pick up the trucks. Wow, there is a long line of them. I hope I will still have time to see the eagle, he thought. Thomas was coupled up to them, and off he went. He wasn't very happy at all, you know. Percy had picked up the milk from Farmer McCall's farm. He wasn't very excited either. He was thinking about the Golden Eagle. Thomas was thinking about it too. I hope I will see the Golden Eagle after I deliver this train to the docks, he said. What Golden Eagle? Said Thomas's truck. The new bird seen here on Sodor. That, Thomas, said the truck, exists only in your head. Good one. Thomas and Percy met at Elsbridge Station. They could see Emily, who was taking the holiday makers to see the Golden Eagle. How I invite you, Emily, said Percy. Me too, said Thomas. Then he had an idea. You know, Percy, would you like to take the former half of my train to the docks while I go and get to see the eagle? Then I'll come back for the latter half and you can go to see the eagle. Good idea, Thomas, said Percy, if the yard manager agrees. Yeah, said Thomas. Well, you take it. So Percy was coupled to the former half of Thomas's train, while Emily was on her way to show holiday makers the Golden Eagle. Percy delivered the former half to the docks. Cranky was surprised. Percy, wasn't Thomas supposed to bring this train? He was, but he's gone to see the Golden Eagle. Go what? Golden Eagle. That's the new bird that has been seen here on Sodor. Ha ha, I think you're making it up, Percy. I don't believe you, said Cranky. It's just a silly excuse. No, it's not, said Percy. Thomas was at Bluff's Cove looking for the Golden Eagle, but there was no sign of him. Then Bertie arrived. Hi, Thomas. What are you doing here? I'm looking for the new bird, the Golden Eagle. Oh, that thing, said Bertie. It has been spotted on Gordon's Hill, Thomas, said Bertie. Wow, thank you, Bertie, said Thomas. In that case, I'll go and visit Gordon's Hill to see the Golden Eagle. Thanks for the info. Bye. Meanwhile, Percy was on his way to see the eagle when suddenly he could see that the latter half of Thomas's train is still at Elsbridge. Oh dear,
If this whole load doesn't get to the docks in time, Thomas will be in trouble. Mr. Shunter, please, do you think you can couple me to the trucks? Why, yes, Percy, said the Shunter. So he coupled him, and Percy took off. Thomas was on Gordon's Hill expecting to see the Golden Eagle, but there was no sign of him, and as long as there would no be sign, Thomas waited and waited. He forgot about his train until he saw Donald and Douglas taking a long goods train up the hill, and upon seeing it, Thomas remembered his stone trucks that are left at Elsbridge Station. "Oh dear," groaned Thomas, "I completely forgot. I got so much distracted by seeing that Golden Eagle that I forgot about my duty." And Thomas was right. Percy had delivered the latter half as well as the former one. Frankie thought it was ridiculous. "Looking for the Golden Eagle still, Percy, are you?" said Frankie. Later, Thomas found Percy on a siding. "Percy, what are you doing here?" "Oh, hi, Thomas. I delivered both your halves, not just the former, but even the latter, because you weren't coming back, and now I've run out of coal, and I'm not able to deliver this milk to the dairy." Thomas realized that his friend Percy couldn't come to see the Golden Eagle, and it was all his fault. Then Bertie arrived. "The Golden Eagle has been seen on the main line. Hurry up, Thomas." "I can't," said Thomas. "I got my friend Percy in trouble, so I need to help him out of it." "Suit yourself," said Bertie. Thomas got uncoupled Percy from his tankers and delivered them to the dairy. He had promised him to come back for him as soon as possible and give him a lift to the nearest coal hopper. Percy was left alone on the siding. He was hoping for Thomas to come back very soon. "I hope he won't be late," he said. But luckily he wasn't. Thomas delivered the milk in the last minute. "Oh, Thomas," said the dairy manager, "I thought Percy was supposed to bring this milk here. Why are you delivering it for him, by the way?" Soon Thomas returned for Percy, and the two engines set off. "By the way, Percy, it's all my fault that you ran out of coal. I'm sorry about what happened. Can you forgive me?" "Oh, no harm was done." "Hey, look! It's the Golden Eagle!"
"You did what?" "I'm sorry, sir. It's all my fault," said Thomas, "but I helped Percy and he helped me. And," said the Fat Controller, "I heard that the stone and milk were delivered. Well, no harm was done. You wanted to see the Golden Eagle and you did see him. By the way, tomorrow a new engine is coming to this island. His name is Neville, and I was hoping you engines could show him what to do on this railway." "Yes, sir," said Thomas. "Yes," said Percy. "I'm looking forward to meet the new engine," said Thomas. "Aren't you too, Percy?" "Oh, yes. I'm glad we did see that Golden Eagle, because you wanted to see him so much, and yeah. Very well. Tomorrow, Thomas, I would like you to go to Brandon Docks to pick up a new section for a bridge. The bridge near Crovan's Gate is broken down, so it needs to be repaired, and no engine is to use it until it is mended. And you must warn all the engines not to cross it until it's repaired." "Yes, sir," said Thomas. "Good," said the Fat Controller. The next morning the Fat Controller came to see his engines. "Engines," he said, "it is an honor for me to tell you that the new engine called Neville has arrived at Brandon Docks this morning. You, Thomas, you can go there to meet him, and when you do, I would like you to collect the section for the broken bridge." "Yes, sir," said Thomas. "By the way, it's on Stepney's branch line. Shall I tell Stepney about it?" "You don't have to," said the Fat Controller. "He knows it." So Thomas took off. Neville was a steam engine, but on the first look he looked like a diesel, but he was not. You can tell he's a steam engine because he has a tender, and since when do diesel engines have tenders? Right. Harry and Bert were at the docks with Neville. They were showing him some trucks, and he wanted to be coupled to them, but Harry and Bert were mean to him. "Nearly there," they said. "Nearly there." Thomas arrived at the docks and he saw Harry and Bert, who were laughing at Neville, and he thought they were laughing with him. Oh dear, Harry and Bert must be forcing Neville to be best friends with the diesels and to hate steam engines. Oh dear, I must warn all the engines not to touch Neville. Soon Thomas arrived at the ironworks where he met Harry and Bert. "Hello guys," he said. "I've come to pick up the new section for the broken bridge." "Oh, look Harry," said Bert. "There he is, the little steam engine. He's forgotten something to leave us here, himself to be scrapped." "Ha ha ha, very funny," said Thomas. "Just give me the section and I'll leave." "Goodbye, steam engine. You forgot to leave yourself in here to be scrapped." "Very, very funny," said Thomas. Thomas delivered the section to Crovan's gate. "Look, Rusty," said Scarloy, "Thomas has brought the section for the broken bridge, and why is he leaving it here?" "Because," said Rusty, "he must warn all the other engines not to cross it." Soon Thomas was on his way to pick up Judy and Jerome, but they were nowhere to be found. Thomas met James at Knapford Station. "Hello, Thomas," said James. "Have you met the new engine yet?" "Yes, I have, but there's nothing big to be looking forwards for." "Why? I saw him at the docks with Harry and Bert, and they were laughing with him." "Oh dear," said James. Soon Thomas left to find Judy and Jerome when Edward arrived. "Hi, Edward," said James. "Have you heard about the new engine called Neville? Thomas saw him at the docks with Harry and Bert. They must be best friends with him, and they are forcing him to hate steam engines." "Oh dear," said Edward. Edward met Percy at Wellsworth Station. "Hi, Percy," he said. "Thomas saw the new engine at the docks. James told me. Neville is best friends with the diesels and doesn't like steam engines." "Oh dear," said Percy, "and I was so looking forward to meet him." Soon Percy met Emily at Elsbridge Station, and he told her what Edward had told him. "Is it true?" asked Emily. "Neville doesn't like steam engines?" "Sure he doesn't," said Percy. Meanwhile, Neville was on the Northwestern Railway learning the line. He was coupled to Annie and Clarabelle, and they didn't like it when somebody without the permission is pulling them. "Hello," he said to Thomas at Abbey Station, but all Thomas said was, "I'm not talking to you," he said. Neville was shocked. Neville didn't know what he had done. He was really sad. Just then Emily arrived. "Hello," said Neville. "Don't try and bother make friends with us," said Emily. "I know you're going to biff and bash into steam engines like you did at the docks, like Harry and Bert told you to." Neville was very puzzled, and so was Thomas. "Who told you about biffing into steam engines and about Harry and Bert, Emily?" "Don't you know?" said Emily. "Percy told me. Edward told Percy. James told Edward, and you told James about Harry and Bert and Neville and you know what." "Oh, that thing. But I only said I saw him at the docks with Harry and Bert." Just then Toby arrived. Guys! Harry and Bert were rude to Neville. Have you heard about it?" Thomas was shocked. So Neville wasn't friends with the diesels after all. "Oh dear, where has Neville gone to? Mr. Station Master, do you know it?" "Yes," said the station master. "He's going all over the main line, and to Crovan's Gate, and to Stepney's branch line. Oh dear, I must go and stop him." Neville was puffing along the main line. Annie and Clarabelle were cross as still. "Give us back, you thief, you nasty old thief," said Clarabelle. "Yes, we're not yours." "Exactly, Annie," said Clarabelle. "We're Thomas's coaches. You didn't ask him if you could borrow us, now did you?" Quite right, Clarabelle, said Annie. This was making Neville very sad. I'm Neville, by the way. What are your names? I'm Annie, and she's Clarabelle, said Annie. Nice to meet you guys, said Neville. Neville didn't want to give Annie and Clarabelle back, and then it happened. Neville arrived at the broken section of the bridge. Now he was stuck. Annie and Clarabelle were stuck too. They were helpless, and they felt very foolish indeed, and so did Neville. Just then Thomas arrived. He was coupled up to Neville and pulled him back to safety. "Oh, thank you," he said. "You're welcome." "By the way, Neville," said Thomas. "Yes?" "I'm sorry, I should have warned you. It was a big misunderstanding. I didn't want you to be hated by all the engines. I saw you with Harry and Bert at the docks and the rumor was just spread. Well, can you forgive me? Can we guys be friends?" "Sure thing. What's your name?" "Is it Thomas?" "Yes." Yes, Thomas. Welcome to Sodor, Neville," said Thomas. "I'll tell all the other engines you're not evil at all." Then Thomas and Percy picked up Judy and Jerome from Abbey Yard and took them to the bridge. Judy and Jerome lifted the part for the bridge and the workmen were finally able to fix it. Later, the Fat Controller gathered the engines at Croven's gate. "Engines," he said, "I have heard that there was a misunderstanding about this new engine, Neville. But you, Thomas, you've saved him. And what was it all about, by the way?" "It's my fault," said Thomas. "I accidentally spread the rumor that Neville doesn't like us steam engines, but he does. Welcome to Sodor, Neville." Neville was very happy. According to the engines, he was such a good engine, for he was such a good engine, for he was such a good engine, which nobody could deny. Hooray! That night, the engines were mad at Thomas at Tidmouth Sheds. "What were you thinking, Thomas?" said Gordon. "Spreading a rumor that Neville doesn't like us steam engines. Do you know how embarrassing it was?" "I didn't mean to spread any rumor," said Thomas. "It was a misunderstanding, and besides, I only said I saw him at the docks with Harry and Bert. I didn't say they were best friends with him." "Blah, blah, blah," said James. "You sure didn't. And you sure didn't tell me about Neville, and I didn't tell Edward." "You see what you have done, Thomas," said Henry. "You are representing a disgrace to this railway." "You sure are," said Gordon. "Do you know why Neville took Annie and Clarabelle from the station yard?" "Know why? You do?" "Yes, because none of us wanted to talk to Neville, thinking he didn't like steam engines, and nobody told him to leave Annie and Clarabelle where they were. That's why." "Oh dear," said Thomas. "I was too busy looking for Judy and Jerome anyway, so I wasn't there at Knapford station yard to tell Neville that Annie and Clarabelle were my coaches." "You wouldn't tell him," said Emily to Thomas, "because you didn't talk to him. You thought Neville didn't like steam engines." "That's why we guys didn't want to talk to him." "Please, don't you ever talk about it," said Thomas. "I'm feeling so much disgraced." "That would serve you right," said Gordon. "You are a disgrace, big disgrace to this railway." The next morning the Fat Controller arrived at Tidmouth Sheds. "I have a very special job for you engines," he said. The engines were very excited. "Today in the afternoon I am hosting a special party for the children at Maidway Station. So, Emily will be taking the children to the party, and Thomas, I've got a special job for you too. I want you to go to the dairy to pick up a milk, and then to pick up a butter and take it to the bakery, and to bring cakes and ice cream to the party at Maidway." Thomas was happy, although not as happy as Emily. Secretly, he wished he could take the children. Thomas was coupled up to the trucks, and off he went. But the trucks were making fun of him. Hey look, it's the steam engine who broke his old trucks and didn't want to take the new ones. Ha ha ha! Very funny, said Thomas. Thomas shoved very carefully and slowly along the island. Secretly he wished he could go a little faster. Then Thomas stopped at a signal. Emily was on her way there too. Hello, slow coach, she called Thomas. I'm not slow, coach. I have to go slowly because I'm taking the milk. You have to go slowly if you're taking the milk. If you go fast, the milk shakes and it's going to turn into butter. No, it's not, said Emily. It's not true. I meant the fat controller doesn't want you to take passengers at all. Remember how you were taking those ordinary coaches to take the workmen home in, and how you derailed them? Or how you left the tuba player on the platform at Knapford Station? Or when you were pulling your first passenger train, you left whole train behind? Or you once left the guard behind at Elsbridge Station? So that's why the fat controller didn't want to give this job to you, because he didn't want to risk another accident. No, it's not true, said Thomas. I can go as fast as you, Emily. I can show you I am not a slow coach. I just was going slowly, that's all. Thomas was determined to show Emily he's not slow, but Emily didn't believe him. Thomas went fast, but he shouldn't have done that. The bottles where the milk was kept started to shake, and that was about to cause big consequences. Soon Thomas arrived at the ice cream factory with milk. The ice cream factory manager was pleased to see Thomas until he saw that it wasn't milk but almost a butter. Thomas, he said, you were going fast, weren't you? Yes, sir, said Thomas. I am very sorry. Later, Thomas met the fat controller at Merron Station. Thomas, you must go slowly with the milk, said the fat controller sternly. If you bounce the milk like a fool, you're going to make butter from them. And the children need their milk and, well, ice cream, I meant. Thomas came back for more trucks with milk. This time, even if Emily called him slow coach, Thomas wanted to go slowly like a snail. So it wouldn't matter if Emily called him slow coach. Better being a slow coach than making almost butter or a complete butter when he was not supposed to do it. So Thomas this time wanted to go as a slow coach. Thomas was determined not to go any faster, but rather slow. And soon Thomas arrived at the ice cream factory, and the manager was pleased. Well done, Thomas. I see you brought the milk. By the way, I'd like to know what will you do with the almost butter? Well, the first trucks you brought here. We don't need them here. We need just the milk to make ice cream from. So, do you know anything about it? Thomas had decided to take the first trucks with him. This time he would be going very fast to make butter from them. When he arrived at the bakery, the baker saw that the almost butter was now butter. Wow, he said. That was very quick, Thomas, wasn't it? Later, the fat controller came to Tidmouth Sheds. He had heard what had Thomas done. Thomas, he said, I have a very special job for you. Oh dear, said Thomas. I hope he's not going to be mad at me for a special job for me. You're not mad at me, sir? Yes, Thomas, I have a special job. You are to be a special guest at Maidwaite Station. I told the children that a special guest would arrive there, but I didn't tell them it would be you. Wow! By the way, aren't you mad at me because of that almost butter turning into the butter? I mean, as I was going very fast. Because
Emily told me I was a slow coach, so I wanted to prove I am not. And, well, I just... Well, goodbye. The next day, the Fat Controller had another special announcement for the engines. "Hello, engines," he said. "I have a very special news for you guys. Soon, a new museum is going to be opened here on the island of Sodor. So, I want you all to go to the Steamworks and to be given new coat of paints for the grand opening of the museum. Because there you must look your best," said the Fat Controller, "and then I will determine which one of you is going to take people for the grand opening to the museum." The engines were very excited. Later that day, James met Toby at Knepford Station. "Hello, Toby," he said. "Have you heard there was going to be a new museum opened here on the island of Sodor? We guys will be all wearing new coats of paint." "I didn't hear anything," said Toby. "Maybe the Fat Controller didn't tell you because he thinks you're too old," he said. And he puffed away. Toby was very sad. "Cheer up," said Henrietta. "I can't," said Toby. "The Fat Controller didn't tell me anything about the museum. He must think I'm too old." Later, Thomas met Toby at Abbey Station. "Hello, Toby," said Thomas. "Hi," said Toby. "Have you heard about the new museum opening?" "Yes," said Thomas. "The Fat Controller doesn't want me to be part of it," said Toby. "He thinks I'm too old." "No, he doesn't," said Thomas. That night, Toby was in his shed, thinking about why the Fat Controller didn't tell him. The next morning, the Fat Controller was telling Emily that she needs to go to the Steamworks for the new coat of paint. Toby arrived. The Fat Controller wanted to find an engine that would do Emily's job for the day. Toby offered himself to do it. Emily was to take flour from the mill to Brandon Docks, so Toby did it for her. Toby puffed carefully, and when he was at the docks, he saw the Fat Controller there. "Oh dear, he's going to tell me that he wants me to end in the museum. I must shove away." Later, Toby met Percy at Lauer's surgery. "Hello, Toby," said Percy. "What are you doing here?" "I was helping Emily," said Toby. "Oh, by the way," said Percy, "I need to pick up stone from the quarry, but could you do it for me? I mean, I need to go to the Steamworks for the new coat of paint." "Sure thing," said Toby. "I'll be happy to." Later, Toby met Thomas at Knepford Station, and he offered him if he could take Annie and Clarabelle for him so that Thomas could go to be given the new coat of paint. And Thomas agreed, and Toby took Annie and Clarabelle on Thomas's branch line. Later, he met James at Knepford Station Yard. James was very cross. He was to take 30 coal trucks, and he was so much looking forward for the new coat of paint, but Toby offered to take them for him. Later, Toby met Edward at Wellsworth Station. "Oh hi," said Edward. I'm looking forward to the new coat of paint, but now I need to push some engines to Gordon's Hill." "You know," said Toby, "leave it to me, I'll do it for you." So Toby served as a banker. Later, Toby went to Farquhar Quarry when he saw the Fat Controller. This time he really got scared and ran away, and bumped into his cowcatchers. "Toby," said the Fat Controller, "why have you been escaping me from me all day?" "I don't want to end in the museum, sir," said Toby. "End in the museum?" said the Fat Controller. "Why would you do it?" Just then Mavis arrived. The Fat Controller told Toby the truth. "I wanted you to pick up the people from the docks and take them to the grand opening of the museum. You have been very helpful today." "Thank you, sir," said Toby. Soon Mavis pulled him back on the rails and took him to the Steamworks. "Why, thank you, Mavis," said Toby. "It was very silly of me to think—" "Oh, no need to think you're too old, Toby," said Mavis. "You're welcome." Soon Toby was at the Steamworks, and Kevin started fixing Toby's old cowcatchers. And later, Toby picked up a coach to take the people for the grand opening in. He was very proud of being given the job. Later, the Fat Controller gathered Toby, Percy and Emily at Knepford Station Yard. "Emily," he said, "I would like you to take some visitors to the ruined castle, and Percy and Toby, I would like you to go to shunt some trucks for me at the ruined castle yard." "Excuse me, sir," said Percy, "I've never been to that shunting yard near the ruined castle, so I don't know how to get there." "I have," said Toby, "and I'll be happy to show you, Percy, the way there." Emily took her passengers to the ruined castle. A long time ago there used to live a king and a queen. Meanwhile, Percy and Toby started shunting their trucks. Percy's trucks were very troublesome indeed, and he couldn't handle them. Emily felt very bored by waiting for her passengers to come back, so she had decided to see what Toby and Percy were doing. Percy was struggling with his trucks. They wouldn't move at all. "Leave those trucks to me, Percy," said Emily. "I'm going to be a queen. I'm going to help you with your trucks." But Toby was cross. "You're not a queen. To be a queen you have to know everything, Emily, and besides, I'll rather help Percy with his trucks when I come back after delivering my trucks." But Emily didn't think it was true. "You know, Percy, why don't you reverse and give the trucks a big bump and let me help you with them?" "Good idea. I'll do what you're saying, Queen Emily," said Percy, but it was a huge mistake. The trucks started to run away. Meanwhile, Mavis was coming the other way with her trucks, and when she saw Percy, she gasped. Mavis and her trucks and Percy's trucks were derailed, and so was Percy. "Percy, what have you done?" "Oh, hi, Emily." "Hi, Mavis," said Emily. "Oh dear, this is all my fault." Meanwhile, Toby was shunting his trucks to Brandon Docks. He was looking forward to go back to see how Percy was doing. But then it happened. Toby derailed as well. "Oh dear, what happened here?" "I'm sorry," said Emily. "This is all my fault. I don't know what to do." "I do," said Toby. "You have to go to Knepford Station Yard to pick up Judy and Jerome." Soon Emily arrived at Knepford Station Yard. "Hello, Emily," said Henry. "What are you so upset about?" I caused some engines to derail," said Emily, "so I have to go and help them with Judy and Jerome." "Oh dear, this is all my fault. I wish I hadn't advised Percy to do what I tell him to do. I mean, I'm not a very good queen now, are I?" "What happened, Emily?" asked Judy. "Yes, tell us," said Jerome. So Emily explained to them what she had done. Meanwhile, Henry picked up some flatbeds to take Toby, Percy and Mavis on. Emily had brought Judy and Jerome to the place where Percy, Mavis and Toby were derailed. Soon Judy and Jerome started lifting Percy and the trucks back on the rails. Emily was very happy. Then the Fat Controller arrived. "Emily, I see you've caused this accident, but not on purpose. But I know how can you make it up to the engines. You will take Toby and Percy to the steamworks and Mavis to the diesel works. And you, Henry, you can take the coaches with Emily's passengers when they have finished seeing the castle." "Yes, sir," said Emily. Soon Judy and Jerome loaded Mavis, Toby, and Percy to the flatbeds. Emily was very ashamed. "Thank you, Henry, for helping me delivering these engines to the steamworks." Henry was very happy to help. "You're welcome, Emily," he said. "By the way, you thought you were a queen, didn't you?" "Now you see, Emily," said Percy, "that sometimes it's best to leave Toby the job of being a queen, or shall I say king." "Exactly," said Toby. "I am wiser than you after all. Now aren't I, Emily?" said Toby. "Yes," said Mavis. "I should have known it was you." Then Henry went back to the castle to pick up the passengers. Victor was happy to fix Toby and Percy. Later, Emily and Henry met at Vickerstown. "Thanks for your help, Henry," said Emily. "You're welcome. By the way, Emily, have you heard some strange noise at Tidmouth Sheds last night? Gordon was making them. He has some problems with his firebox now, doesn't he?" "Oh yes," said Emily. "He should probably go to the steamworks to have his firebox checked, because there is something wrong with it." "Yes, I told him too, but he wouldn't listen to me. He thinks there's nothing wrong with him. He thinks I was just bossy and annoying him, but I wasn't, now was I?" "Sure," said Emily. The next morning the Fat Controller arrived at Tidmouth Sheds. "Hello, engines," he said. "Last night there had been a very terrible storm, so there are lots of damages here on the island of Sodor that needs to be fixed. Thomas, I would like you to go to Brandon Docks with Annie and Clarabelle and to pick up some workmen and take them to fix all the telegraph poles that had fallen here on the island. It is very urgent, so it must be fixed all today." "Yes, sir," said Thomas. And while the Fat Controller was giving jobs to the other engines, Thomas took off. Later, Thomas and Edward met at Brandon Docks. "Look, Edward," said Thomas. "What a beautiful thing, those colors, red, orange, blue, and—" "That's a rainbow," said Edward. "They say that on the end of the rainbow there is some magic to be found." "Wow," said Thomas. "I must go and try." "Wait," said Edward. "It's just a saying." Thomas took Annie and Clarabelle, and while he was delivering the workmen to fix all the telegraph poles, he was thinking about nothing but the end of the rainbow. He wanted to find it so that he could see what magic, as Edward had told him, is on the end, just sitting where the rainbow's ending. But Annie and Clarabelle didn't believe the magic is real. "Well, it's just a saying." Later, Henry asked Thomas to help him with some trucks, but Thomas was too busy. "Sorry, Henry," he said. "Can't stop now." "Look out, Thomas," said Toby. "There's a fallen telegraph pole on the rails." But Thomas didn't hear him. And then it happened. Thomas, Annie and Clarabelle were all derailed. "Oh dear," he said. "I was ignoring my friends, and now look what happened." Then Percy was pulling by, and Thomas whistled at him, and Percy then told Henry that Thomas was in trouble, and then Henry told Bertie, and Bertie saw some children and he told them, and then the children saw James and they told him, "Hi, James! Thomas is in trouble!" James told Harold the helicopter, and Harold told Harvey the crane engine, and Harvey came to rescue Thomas, Annie and Clarabelle. Soon Annie and Clarabelle were back on the rails. Thomas was very grateful. "Why, thanks, Harvey," he said. "You're welcome," said Harvey, and he told him how the message got all over to him. "You whistled at Percy. He told Henry. Henry told Bertie. Bertie told some children. The children told James. James told Harold. And Harold told me you were in trouble." "Why, thanks," said Thomas. "So my friends wanted to help me even if I ignored them?" "Sure," said Harvey. "Why, how did it happen, by the way?" "I was looking for the end of the rainbow," said Thomas. Later, when Thomas's jobs were finished, Thomas saw that the end of the rainbow was right above Tidmouth Sheds. "Wow," said Thomas, "there is some magic on the end of my rainbow. My friends!" "Hooray!" cheered the engines. "By the way," said Thomas, "by the way, I'd like to thank Percy, Henry, and James for helping me." "You're welcome," said the engines, "for you're a jolly good engine. You're a jolly good engine. You're a jolly good engine which nobody can deny." The next morning the Fat Controller arrived at Tidmouth Sheds. A new engine called Dennis has arrived on the island of Sodor. By the way, Thomas, since you have been working very hard yesterday, delivering the workmen to every line on the Northwestern Railway, you can have a day off today. And if you'd like to meet the new engine, Dennis, then he's at the shunting yard. He is to take some trucks to the school at Bluffs Cove because the roof there is broken. And while it's your day off, Percy will be running your branch line for you. Thomas was very excited. Meanwhile, Dennis was at the shunting yard trying to push some trucks when Thomas arrived. "Hello," he said. "You must be Dennis." "I'm Thomas. Nice to meet you," said Dennis. "These trucks are very heavy. I am to take them to Bluffs Cove, but I don't know where it is." "I do," said Thomas. "The Fat Controller told me you're to take these tiles to fix the roof with." "Yes," said Dennis. Later, Thomas met Percy at Knapford Station. "Hi, Thomas," said Percy. "Duck told me at Tidmouth Station that the children can't go to school until the roof is mended. Nobody knows where the trucks full of tiles are." "I do," said Thomas. "Dennis is taking them." Dennis had escaped. He was a very lazy engine, didn't I tell you guys? Dennis didn't care about Thomas. All he cared about was to get away from the work. Then he derailed. He was very sad. Just then Thomas arrived. "Dennis, what's happened to you, and where are all your trucks?" "I tricked you," said Dennis. "I am a very lazy engine. There was nothing wrong with me. I just wanted you to do the job for me." Soon Thomas brought Judy and Jerome, and they brought Dennis back on the rails. Soon Thomas and Dennis were working together, delivering the roof tiles to school. Thomas was hoping to enjoy some of his day off after this. Soon the two engines arrived at Bluffs Cove. The Fat Controller was cross when he heard what happened. "Dennis, you have caused confusion and delay, and on your first day too." Then Thomas arrived. "Oh, Thomas, thanks for helping Dennis. Now you see, Dennis, what you have done? Thomas had to do most of your job for you, and on his day off too. You will be shunting trucks and coaches in the yard until I can trust you again." "Yes, sir," said Dennis. But Dennis was very lazy, and so other engines such as Percy had to fetch Gordon his coaches because Dennis was too lazy to do it. "Stay away from my platform, Percy," said Gordon. "But I brought you your coaches, Gordon," said Percy. "Ha! But the new engine, Dennis was supposed to do it. I heard the Fat Controller told him to shunt trucks and coaches." "He was," said Percy, "but he's very lazy." "Pah!" said Gordon. "You sure wish." Gordon was coupled to his coaches, and Dennis was shunting some tankers. But when he shunted them to Stepney, he forgot a brake van. Later, Gordon and Emily met at Knapford Station. "Hi, Gordon," said Emily. "Are you making those funny sounds of your boiler again?" Then Diesel arrived. He heard it too, and he was making fun of Gordon. "Ha, ha, ha," said Gordon. "Very funny." Gordon took off, taking notice of no one. Meanwhile, Stepney was pulling the trucks up Gordon's hill when suddenly the trucks broke free and were now rolling down the main line. Soon the trucks stopped in the middle of the main line, which Gordon wasn't aware of. Gordon bumped into them, and the sticky jam flew all over his face. "Yuck," said Gordon. His driver and fireman telephoned the Fat Controller and told him what happened. "I see," said the Fat Controller. "I shall send Thomas with Judy and Jerome." Soon the engines arrived to see what happened. "Ha!" said Percy. "You got yourself in a sticky situation, did you, Gordon?" "Ha ha ha!" laughed James. "You do look sticky indeed from the jam." "Ha ha ha!"
The engines were enjoying making fun of Gordon. Soon Gordon was cleaned and Edward put him to the steamworks. "How do you feel, Gordon?" said Edward. "Funny, don't you?" "Oh, the indignity," said Gordon. "Thank you, Edward, for pushing me to the steamworks. I feel very awful indeed and humiliated." "You're welcome," said Edward. Henry and Emily took turns in pulling the express. They were enjoying it, but the coaches were very heavy. "Oh, hi, Emily," said Henry. "By the way, thanks for helping me with the express, because that gives me time to go to Callan Castle." "Why?" "Because on the way there is a forest with my favorite tall pine tree. It just makes me feel better. I can't just explain." "Oh, you're welcome," said Emily. "I hope Gordon will be mended soon." "Yeah," said Henry. "I hope so." Henry was right. Later, Henry met the Fat Controller at the castle. "Oh, hi, Henry," said the Fat Controller. "We are preparing a special banquet here at the Scottish castle. The old flagpole is broken, so I would like you to go to the docks to pick up the new one and bring it here." "Yes, sir," said Henry. But as Henry rushed to the docks, he didn't see the flagpole until it was too late. It fell down on the rails and Salty rolled over it. "I'm sorry, me hearty. I didn't know it was there." "It's not your fault," said Henry. "I guess I was just careless." And Henry was right. "By the way, what's that old ship there for?" "Oh, you mean the old ship? People will make photos of it, and then it will be scrapped." Then the Fat Controller arrived. "Henry, this is a disaster. I ordered this flagpole specially for the Callan Castle to hold the flag there." "I'm sorry, sir," said Henry. "Now you must go and find a new flagpole." "Yes, sir," said Henry. He was feeling very guilty. Later, Henry met Toby at the forest. "You know," said Toby, "maybe the workmen could cut that tall pine tree to make the flagpole from," he suggested. "Oh dear," said Henry. "I hope that is never going to happen." Later, Henry met Thomas at the coaling plant, and he told him what he was looking for. "The new flagpole." "You know," said Thomas, "sometimes you find things where you wouldn't think of looking." Later, Henry was to take some carpenters to the forest, and then he saw they all had saws and axes. "Oh dear," groaned Henry. "I'm sure they're to cut the tall pine tree down. I must not allow it," said Henry. "I'm going to take them somewhere else, rather." Henry was trying to think of new places where to take the new flagpole from, but he wouldn't find one. The Fat Controller was cross. "Henry," he said, "those workmen had a very important job. Edward will take them to the forest tomorrow for you, and you, to make it up to him, you can run his branch line for him. Will you do that?" "Yes, sir," said Henry. So the next morning, Henry was coupled to the old coaches. He was very upset. At Wellsworth, he met Daisy. "Hi, Henry," said Daisy. "Hi," said Henry. "I am to run Edward's branch line today for him, because he's doing some job I was supposed to do, but I wouldn't do it, so I need to make it up to him." "Wow," said Daisy. "You guys are sure lazy." "Ha ha ha," said Henry. At the orchard, Henry met Trevor. "You're very nice, Trevor, but you wouldn't make a big flagpole, now would you?" "Thanks," said Trevor. "I am nice." But what's the flagpole for, he wondered. Later, Henry arrived at the docks and he saw the ship was still there. Then he had an idea. Maybe the ship's flagpole could be used as the new flagpole for the Callan Castle. "Right, good idea," said Salty, "but you must hurry." Later, Henry met Edward at the station.
Hi, Edward. Have the woodsmen cut the tall tree down yet? No, they haven't, said Edward. Thanks goodness, said Henry, because that means it's not too late. Too late for what? What are you talking about, Henry? Soon Henry returned to the docks and picked up the new flagpole for the castle banquet. He was very excited. Soon he arrived at the forest. Sir, please, do not cut the tall pine tree down. I found a better flagpole. We wouldn't cut any trees down here, Henry, said the Fat Controller. These workmen had a very important job, to pick up all the wood for a fire. Phew, said Henry. Soon he delivered the new flagpole, and the banquet was a great success. Good for you, Henry, said Thomas. The flag looks lovely. Yes, said the Fat Controller. Now you have seen that you all make mistakes when you don't think of what you are doing. Right, Henry? Everyone makes mistakes, don't they? Even you guys.